Hello and welcome to BQ Prime. You're joining us on this special broadcast on a Tuesday morning where we're joined with Mr. Vaidyanathan, the MD and CEO of IDFC First Bank. Now, of course, this interview is coming in the backdrop of an announcement by the bank that happened Monday evening, late evening actually, where the bank announced that IDFC Limited, IDFC Financial Holding Company, both will be merged into IDFC First Bank. This is a long-awaited merger that has been in discussions for a while now, and of course, there's a swap ratio that the bank has announced. The intent is to simplify the corporate structure that exists within the IDFC group. I'll start with Mr. Vaidyanathan. The first question on my end, if you can explain the simplification process a little bit more.
It's very simple. Currently, IDFC Limited holds through the NOHFC holds 40% of the bank. So, bank has one shareholder having 40%, and it has many other shareholders. Now, what the bank will do is that bank will, to the extent of the 40%, or in lieu of the 40%, bank will issue shares to IDFC Limited shareholders and will collapse the existing shares.
Okay.
Just to keep it simple, it becomes one entity, and it becomes all comes together. And to get some numbers out of the way, 264 or 266 crore shares are which is 40% held by IDFC Limited. Now the bank will extinguish all of those 264 crore shares and will issue fresh shares of about 248 crores of shares. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Sir, I've, my colleagues and I were chatting a little earlier, and they said that the announcement is coming just 2 days after what happened with the HDFC group, a similar merger where the parent merged within the bank. And my point simply was that this merger technically predates HDFC by a few years because this has been in discussion for some time. I just want to get a sense of why it took all this time that it took.
Yeah, okay. It's a very fair question. The important thing is how to find a fair value to the process, because at the end of the day, the two organizations and managements have to meet and understand what's a fair process, fair value. And that process has to be supported, and there has to be values have to independently come to the process. And merchant bankers come to the game and do a fairness opinion. So this whole process is such that we had to discover that value. I think took some time.
Okay, fair enough. Now, going ahead, I want to understand the sort of time do you think this is going to take? Because in the scheme of arrangement that you released last evening, there's no effective date as such. There are regulatory and statutory approvals still pending, so that will take some time. But to your mind, what is the timeline looking like?
9 to 12 months.
9 to 12 months. Okay, sir. Fair enough. And as part of this, do you think there's going to be any kind of capital spend? Would you have to go back to the market to raise any kind of money in the future?
IDFC Limited, give or take, has close to about 600 crores of cash on their own balance sheet at this point of time, which they got through the sale of stake to Bandhan.
Right.
Even after infusing in the bank and even after paying dividend, they still have that amount of cash, give or take. So as part of this process, or let me say cash and cash equivalents. So as part of that process that comes to the merged entity, to that extent, let me say our net worth goes up. And that is one of the reasons actually you might have seen book value per share of IDFC bank shareholders are up 5%.
Correct.
So that's that.
Okay, sir. I also want to sort of tap into the synergistic nature of this merger. Now, of course, there is no direct business that IDFC is at this point in time doing. It's holding mostly stakes in other companies. But what do you think is this helps the bank apart from, of course, the valuation boost that you'd get?
We get number one, of course, like we said, we get an increase in book value per share. Just by merging, like 5%. That we said, no, we said because we will issue less number of shares than we will cancel.
Right.
By 16 crore less shares we will issue. So that's that. Otherwise, apart from that, once you bring the structure together, then you have diversified set of shareholdings. You don't have one shareholder holding 40%.
Right.
You just are completely diversified, like how ICICI Bank is, or HDFC Bank is, or Axis is, and so on. So that also helps in a big way because you can raise capital. You don't have to, there's no one single shareholder who has to approve or disapprove the process and so on. It just makes it easier, actually.
Got it. Okay. Would you, coming to the bank, I want to talk a little bit about the business as well. So at this stage, what is FY24 looking like to you? We've done about a quarter. I know you can't reveal a lot about the quarter that has gone by, but for the whole year, what is the growth plan looking like at this stage?
No, we certainly can't really be a statutory review. I won't talk about anything about the bank now in terms of numbers.
Fair enough.
Let me only talk about what happened last quarter. You know, the process is going very well.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So I would say that the short answer is that our customer products have become, our products are really good, our brand is good, and our service levels are very good. So I think next few years, we don't worry. I mean, we are not concerned for deposits. It's coming.
Okay, so fair enough. So that's one liabilities question, which is something that most private banks are asked now. So that you've answered. But I want to also tap into the unsecured side of the story, because there is some talk of the Reserve Bank of India looking at specific regulations for unsecured credit. It seems that some of it is making them a little uncomfortable. When we looked at the FSR, which is the year gone by, and the assessment that the RBI presented there, unsecured is largely stable, but maybe on the public sector side, you're seeing slightly higher delinquencies on the credit card portfolio. But as far as your view of the market is concerned, do you think that there is need for some amount of tightening?
No, definitely we should always be very careful, not just secured, not just unsecured, secured, unsecured. If you take the eye off the ball in this business, there will be a price to pay. So we should be very careful. The second thing is that, at least in our case, of course, we've been like 13th year, and we started in 2010, it's not 2023. 13 years, we maintain a gross NPA to a net below 1. It's right now, meaning last quarter numbers, a gross was 1.6 and net was 0.6. So the short answer is we should be very careful, and in all businesses we should be very careful that we should do good cash flow assessment.
Okay, fair enough. I want to close this off with one more question around the merger, the proposed merger. Now, in the swap ratio that you've announced, you've said 155 shares of the bank for every 100 shares of IDFC Limited to the shareholders. Some market experts seem to be suggesting that this is too much in favor of IDFC Limited. I just want to get your rationale behind the pricing, sir.
The fact is that every shareholder of IDFC Limited is holding effectively in a C2 way 1.66 shares of IDFC Bank. In this process, they're getting 1.55 shares.
Okay.
How do you arrive at 1.55 shares? There is a valuation process that happens. There's certain cash in the bank there, which I don't think people have seen. That's why we discussed the numbers earlier. And then you go through a process. Coming to whose favor it is and etc. Our whole endeavor all the time should be how to be fair to our shareholders. Right. It is not about how much maximum we can get in any negotiation for that matter. So our intention is how is be fair. It should be fair to IDFC Limited shareholders also. And it should be fair to IDFC Bank shareholders also. So I thought it was a nice midpoint, and we should look ahead. Because if we're sitting today in 2023, do you remember what is the fair price ratio between ICICI Bank and ICICI Limited 15 years ago? Okay, who knows? Right? Of course. You just look ahead and you build this bank. Yeah.
So you believe that going ahead, so this merger is essentially going to help all your shareholders, support all your shareholders, be fair to them in financial terms.
I really believe that be fair to all shareholders. It's not only about IDFC Bank shareholders that look, we are holding so many shares of, we have. It's not like that. It's about what's fair to everybody. People should be happy coming into the overall IDFC Bank operating company. And if it's fair to everybody, it leaves a good smell. And like I said, we look at ICICI, HDFC, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America. They're all global. They're just global institutions that run forever and ever. You should look forward to that kind of growth.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Vaidyanathan, for taking time out and joining us and taking us through all of these points. And thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. Bye.